It's 28 days to the Presidential National Assembly elections, and we're staying with the development as well as the Osun State Election Tribunal. So Gboyega Oyetola is in and Adeleke is out. The tribunal delivered a majority decision affirming that the July 16 governorship election was characterized by overvoting, saying INEC did not comply substantially with the Constitution as well as the provisions of the Electoral Act. Thanks for joining us on the program. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. The Osun State Election Petitions Tribunal has declared Gboyega Oyetola as the duly elected governor of Osun State. The tribunal also ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to withdraw the certificate return issued to Adeleke and reissue it to Gboyega Oyetola. In a majority judgment delivered by the chairman of the tribunal, Justice Tese Kume, granted the request of the petitioners to cancel results of the polls in 10 local governments due to overvoting.
The dissenting judgment is what it is, and it's all about the issue of in the opinion of that judge. He felt that the beavers report that the other side tendered, should supersede the one that we got and we tendered.
We are dissatisfied with the judgment as delivered, nullified the election that was freely conducted on the 16th of July 2022. The reality on the ground is that we are dissatisfied, and the necessary legal steps for the purpose of challenging that judgment, we will embark upon it.
Nigerians, people from Osun should be calm. There are constitutional provisions on what should be done. I have a belief that the Court of Appeal has a duty here. Thank you.
Let's bring you the backstory to Osun post-election litigations. Osun is one of the 8 states in Nigeria where elections are conducted off-cycle due to previous litigations. The state's off-cycle governorship election arose from the widely condemned 2007 elections that saw incumbent Olagunsoye Oyinlola declared winner. In 2018, Gboyega Oyetola won the election after a supplementary poll. But the Osun State Election Tribunal in March 2019 ruled that the rerun election was illegal, ruling that PDP's Adeleke won that election in the course of the first ballot. That victory didn't last long when 2 months after the appeal court set aside the judgment of the tribunal that declared Mr. Adeleke winner of the election. Today, the tribunal has again ruled against an incumbent governor, a repeat of what happened in 2019. Both parties will now head to the appeal court for a final decision on the matter as PDP vows to challenge the result. We're joined live by lawyers representing Governor Oyetola and Governor Adeleke. Let's start with the counsel to APC, Ibrahim Lawal. Mr. Lawal, thank you for joining us on the program. What's your client's reaction to his victory as you're aware that Governor Adeleke is headed to the Court of Appeal?
Well, our reaction to the judgment is that it is the victory for democracy. It is the victory for rule of law, and it reinforces our belief that that election conducted in Osun on 16th July 2022 did not conform with the Electoral Act that impose beavers or electronic device as a means of accreditation. It has always been our contention that in 744 polling units, beavers were not strictly used for accreditation of voters. And we are vindicated today that the tribunal find it worthy, to agree with us and to declare our candidate winner. Our candidate is very elated. We on the legal team were also very elated that the rule of law eventually prevails.
Well, the reaction is different on the other side. As you are aware, the PDP is going to the court. The appeal court has some 60 days to decide on this matter. What are the chances that this tribunal victory may be overturned on appeal?
Well, Well, let me say first and foremost that as we have exercised our constitutional right, to go to tribunal and challenge the election, the loser on this side too has a constitutional right to also appeal the judgment. But I want to say that it is very instructive, the decision of the tribunal, even the dissenting judgment. If you look at the dissenting judgment, the dissenting judge also agreed with the reasoning and findings of the majority judgment on issue 1. Because they were able to find as a fact that there was forgery of O-level certificate of
I hear you, Mr. Lawal. I'm afraid we have to go there. We'll probably return to you subsequently for more updates on the court decision. Ibrahim Lawal is counsel to APC. Thank you so much for your time. Let's turn to the other side. Counsel to the PDP, Hashim Abiyoye, is also standing by. Your principal, Governor Adeleke, has rejected the ruling, indicating his decision to appeal. What's the basis for this reaction? Mr. Abiyoye, can you hear me? I'm asking for the basis of your principal's reaction to today's judgment.
As you can see, the mood in the town today that people of Osun State have come out to react to the tribunal judgment by saying that their mandate that they have freely given to Senator Adeleke cannot be taken away by what can be termed the purported majority decision. I use the word purported majority decision because it was only the tribunal chairman that read the decision, and there was another judgment by member 1, while member 2 did not make any pronouncement in court, did not say anything, did not say a word other than say thank you to members of the bar and the parties in court. So I would say the majority judgment, quote unquote, was not a welcome decision. And
Mr. Abiyoye, I'm wondering if you're still there. I'm afraid we lost that line. We return to the PDP Council perhaps in subsequent edition. But there are lots more questions to be asked here because this judgment has indicted the Independent National Electoral Commission. Nigerians are going into the 2023 election believing in INEC's confidence in technology. How did overvoting happen in Osun with the use of the bimodal voter accreditation system? These are the questions we'll be asking in the course of this program. We'll take a short break. When we return, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken warns that visa restrictions will be placed on persons who pose a threat to Nigeria's democracy, and their families as well will not be spared. Also coming up, the role that international observers have continued to play in the course of elections is what we'll be talking about. Stay with us.
Nigerians will be going to the polls to elect another government at the general election on the 25th of February this year, 2023. I urge you to be guided by diplomatic practice to ensure that your activities remain within the limits of your profession as we monitor the build-up to the elections and the conduct of the general election itself.
President Muhammadu Buhari there warning against foreign interference in the forthcoming 2023 general election. Welcome back. It's the countdown, and international observers play a crucial role in safeguarding the integrity of election. But the process comes with a stringent set of rules that guide conduct, which must be followed to the letter. One of the basic rules international observers must follow in any election coverage is respect for the sovereignty of the host country. And that's what President Muhammadu Buhari was saying in that particular report. But let's get more perspective now on election interference in this report.
The 2023 general election is a watershed moment in Nigeria's democratic journey. The stakes have never been this high. The election is not just about Nigeria choosing its leaders. In a region troubled by military coups d'etats, political instability and armed conflicts, Nigeria also provides leadership in the economic community of West African states. For the global community, Nigeria's 2023 election is critical in further asserting the country's status as a democratic and politically stable country. The election will also be the first major test for the 2022 Electoral Act and other legal framework introduced to enhance the process.
Based on what has been done in the past, they were interested in the whole process of electoral reform, and a number of them actually provided support to civil society groups and working around those very critical issues. And they were quite happy that the Electoral Act 2022 captured most of the feelings and aspirations, and if you like, the yearnings of Nigerians, particularly the integration of technology into the voting process.
As the world turns to Nigeria to see how it will conduct its election, some issues still stick out like a sore thumb. The recent attacks on offices of the Independent National Electoral Commission across the country, the wave of violence at campaigns, and the inciting rhetorics from political actors are factors that are considered capable of threatening the success of the polls. INEC has already accredited foreign and domestic observers that are expected to be neutral and closely watch Nigeria's election to ensure citizens are not disenfranchised, and also document infractions and other kind of incidents that could mar the process. But beyond registered voters who will line up to cast their ballot, the spotlight will also be on the Independent National Electoral Commission, the police and other security agencies, and all other government institutions that will collaborate to deliver a credible, free and fair election. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
Indeed, it's all eyes on Nigeria. As a matter of fact, the U.S. Secretary of State Adeleke has just announced visa restrictions on some Nigerians accused of undermining democracy. Mr. Blinken described the visa ban as a reflection of the U.S. government's commitment to supporting Nigeria's aspiration to combat corruption and strengthen democracy, as well as the rule of law. The Secretary of State said, and I'm quoting him now, "We are committed to supporting and advancing democracy in Nigeria and around the world. I'm announcing visa restrictions on specific individuals in Nigeria for undermining democratic process in a recent Nigerian election." End of quote. Let's now talk to head of West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network delegation to Nigeria, Dr. Kojo Asante. Dr. Asante, thank you for joining us on the program. Let's talk about precisely what the red lines are for foreign election observers. For the 10th time, President Buhari has warned them, or you guys, not to interfere in Nigeria's election. Dr. Ashanti, can you hear me? Well, we're having issues establishing connection with Dr. Ashanti. We'll work on that and get back to that conversation, particularly as we count down to the much talked about general election. There is a lot of talks as to how significant election in Nigeria is, not only to the sub-region, but the whole of the African continent, particularly where you consider some countries in West Africa struggling with democracy. Dr. Ashanti, I was asking you earlier what the red lines are for foreign observers in this election.
In terms of the red lines, well, I think everybody who is coming here is interested in helping Nigeria to deliver a credible and peaceful election. So all international observers do have codes of conduct that they have to follow. And I think that the Electoral Commission has made these codes of conduct very, very clear and made it available to everybody. And everybody is expected to respect it, how they conduct themselves when they go to polling units, where they're supposed to stand, what kinds of access they can have to the polling unit. So these things are standard, and if you are part of an international observation, you will get full briefing on what you are expected to do when you are in the host country. But I think generally all of us, and particularly those of us from West Africa who are coming, we are interested in making sure that Nigeria succeeds, because anything else would have a very bad impact for the rest of us in the sub-region. So we are in it together.
Indeed, the White House delegation has been in Nigeria for a while now. What has been your observation thus far?
I think the most warming part of it is that we see a lot of enthusiasm and a real dogged commitment from all stakeholders, whether you are speaking to the media, civil society, the INEC, the Peace Committee. Everybody wants this election to be successful in spite of some of the challenges that are palpable. And I am really encouraged by that enthusiasm. I think that is key if you are going to overcome some of the challenges that have been identified, whether it's with the PVC collection, whether it's dealing with some of the insecurity. You really need a very positive attitude, that you are prepared to work very hard in the run-up to the election, but also on election day, to deal with issues that might crop up and ensure that the election, no matter what the challenge, is able to come to a successful end, and that a credible winner is announced.
Indeed, Dr. Ashanti, a lot has been said about the critical role Nigeria plays on the continent. How important is the successful election in February to the sub-region, particularly countries struggling with democracy in West Africa?
This is the most populous country in Africa. So there's no missing words about the impact, the implications for the rest of the sub-region. This is 24 years of unbroken democracy, not, interrupted by unconstitutional disruptions. It's the 7th consecutive election. So there's a lot of gains that have been made, as I said, in spite of the challenges that Nigeria has encountered from election to election. But you can say with all confidence that every election, going to every new election, there's been improvement. And so this is a case of a cup, half full rather than a cup half empty, and is working very hard to make sure that we overcome this particular election and its challenges, deliver a credible election, and then build on it, because after this, certainly the next one, there's a lot that can be done to even continue to improve it. But for the rest of West Africa, I'm coming from Ghana. I don't think that we can even take 5% of Nigerians if there are any challenges in Nigeria. So there is no option. I think as stakeholders, we have to work very closely together so that we can have a credible and peaceful election.
And Dr. Kojo Asante, head of West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network delegation to Nigeria. Thank you for joining us on the countdown.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Nigeria, indeed. You know what to say about the country? They say when Nigeria coughs, the whole continent, gets a cold. The election in Nigeria is like the whole sub-regional West Africa having an election, 17 million more than all the registered voters in all of the other 14 countries put together. Now, let's talk about the role that women are playing in Nigeria's politics. This has been a subject of debate in political space as they are essential to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Women, as we speak, are underrepresented at all levels of decision-making worldwide. Achieving gender parity, they say, is an Herculean task. In Nigeria, the National Gender Policy has formulated a 35% affirmative action since 2006. This policy demands that 35% of women be involved in all governance processes. Let's tell you, for instance, that the female governor in Nigeria, Virginia Etiaba, perhaps the only one we've had, only functioned as Anambra State's governor for 6 months following the impeachment of Peter Obi on the 2nd of November 2006. No woman has ever been elected president or vice president in Nigeria. In 2015, only 6 women made the list of ministers. 7 made it in 2019, representing 16% in President Buhari's government. And the big question will be that what's really happening with women participation? Because when you consider the situation outside Nigeria, it's quite different. There are countries where women hold 50% or more ministerial positions, including countries like Nicaragua that has 58%. There's Austria with 57%, Belgium, Sweden, Albania. Rwanda in Africa has reached well over 50%, 54.84%. There's Costa Rica with 52%, not to talk about other countries like Andorra, Finland, France, Guinea-Bissau, Spain, that indeed have more than 50%. Now, these countries appear to be making significant progress implementing the Beijing Declaration of 1995 concerning advancing women's rights. The question is, are women in Nigeria fully represented in governance, despite the 35% affirmative action commitment? Well, your guess is as good as mine, but let's listen to the views on this issue.
For a long time, it's been a male-dominated space. But with the advent of feminism, with the performance of some leading women in the game, we've come to realize that, you have to give everybody a chance.
The world is focused on Nigeria now. They want to know what the outcome will be. The solution to it is that they should zone some particular offices to women. For instance, in the House of Assembly, let's say we are giving, out of 26, we are giving 6 to.
The women are supposed to come out entirely. So if they come out fully, even their numbers, they are at large numbers, and they put their own people, and their people win election, things will change for better.
Women are now aware and are involved actively in politics, because formerly, even the parents, they didn't even send their children, their female children, for schooling. But now everybody know what is the value of education.
Dr. Miriam Shatima is from the APC. She joins me live on the program tonight. Women participating in this election are only 8.9% of all the candidates put together. Why do you think the outing is still poor after 6 successive general elections?
Frankly, I think it could be due to the socioeconomic issues, and from previous research, it's been established that the cultural background of individuals determines how they participate in politics. So if there aren't proper sensitizations and enlightenment about how crucial and important such things are, that might be a serious drawback towards people coming out to vote, leading to voter apathy and issues like that, especially when it comes to women. And being from the northern part of the country, where women are seen to be sort of, I wouldn't say oppressed, they are mostly supposed to be subservient to their husbands and their superiors. a lot needs to be done to ensure that they get carried along properly and sensitized very well.
The anathema is that politicians count on women to vote. There are about 49% of them registered to vote, but there are just 8.9% of the candidates who are females. But in this February election, there are about 10 women contesting to be governors. There are some 3 in the north and 7 in the south. Are you optimistic that perhaps this is the year Nigeria will record its first democratically elected female governor?
Absolutely. One of the things that made me really excited to come and join in this discussion and this interview on TVC is the fact that I'm completely excited and optimistic that finally our voices are being heard, that a lady of virtue who is a married woman, a typical House of Fulani housewife from a northern extraction, has had the support of her husband and her family to come out and contest. And the support you could see is completely overwhelming. This is a departure from the previous perception of women that try to participate in politics, where they are seen as women that do not have virtue, or women that are indecent or uneducated or loose. There's a serious paradigm shift, which is very exciting and making us even more optimistic as up-and-coming politicians. The likes of Hajia Aisha Binani, who is the APC flag bearer of gubernatorial election, I think is a huge milestone that had been taken, and we're pretty much optimistic that she is going to win, and she has our full support. And definitely, it also shows you the future of how Nigerian politics is going to play out with our very supportive and smart and politically sagacious candidate in the name of Senator Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Dr. Shatiba, we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to continue this conversation after the election, and then by that we'll have the figures of how many women made it after the polls. A big thank you, Dr. Mariam Shatima of the APC, for joining us on the show. That's the show today. Thanks for being a part of it. Remember that there are just 2 more days remaining for the collection of PVCs. Without your PVC, you cannot vote. It's your passport for this election. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week with more updates. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.